discussing the facts and the stats and sharing your opinions. Get on the ball and stay on the ball by tuning into On the Ball with Troy Biff Mills on WINNFM 98.9 every Tuesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. and also on Facebook and YouTube. Be on the ball. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of On the Ball. I am Troy Biff Mills, your host, and we say good evening to everyone in St. Kitts and Nevis. Those of you in the Leeward Islands, good evening, the OECS, the Caribbean, and hey, while we're at it, we might just say good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night to you, wherever you are, whatever neck of the woods you are. And thank you for tuning in to another edition of On the Ball. And we must say a very big thank you to our sponsors, Cayenne Jet. Cayenne Jet provides a total focus on your needs with the element simplicity of a single point of contact for your travel demands. Our commitment to highest levels of service, safety, and convenience is unmatched in private aviation. Cayenne Jet private lounges are known for their discerning clients who relish the state-of-the-art terminal for both its privacy and ability to relax and be pampered in a luxurious space while their immigration and baggage requisites are being taken care of. With always a warm Cayenne Jet welcome from our team. A very big thank you to Cayenne Jet, and they are located at the Robert Llewellyn Bratcher International Airport at Golden Rock, and we say thank you for them for coming on board. It's another edition here of On the Ball at WINNFM 98.9, the fourth edition, and you would recall from last week, we started doing two things. One, it became a weekly program, a weekly show from last week, Tuesday, and it is also now a 2-hour program from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And it is my privilege and pleasure to be here with you. And I thank you for taking time out to tune in to us. We have a packed program tonight. We have 3 sets of guests. The St. Kitts and Nevis Olympic Committee. One member is here already, very early. We're going to be having St. Kitts and Nevis Athletics, track and field, as some of you may know it as. And we're also going to be having the St. Kitts Tennis Association, that is lawn tennis. And we're going to be talking a bit about the Pan Am Games, the recently concluded Pan Am Games. And of course, they're going to be telling us what plans they have for the balance of the year, and perhaps if we have enough time, they'll give us a sneak preview of their plans for the first quarter of 2024. Today is the 14th of November, and my, how time really flies. This year, 2023, just went by poof, and we're heading into the carnival season, and a lot of action already started happening. And we're going to get the ball rolling. We're going to start off with some cricket. Right now, the St. Kitts Cricket Association, they're hosting the Keith Atherton, the annual Keith Atherton T20 competition, and it is down to the final game in the regular season. There are 6 teams competing. There were 15 matches, and when I left the park a few minutes ago, Police, they were playing Young Guns, and as it stands right now, Police, they are not in the running for anything. They have played 4 matches before tonight, and they have had the privilege of losing all 4. So they are, as we say colloquially, on a comb or getting a comb. They haven't gotten a point as yet. They lost all 4. Young Guns, they are in the 5th position on 2 points with this last match to play. St. Paul's, they are 4th, winning 2. Well, Young Guns, they won 1 and lost 3. St. Paul's, winning 2, losing 2. They have 4 points. I'm thinking that these point tables haven't quite been updated, because St. Paul's would have played Young Guns on Thursday, it is, on the weekend there. And Poinciana, it is saying that they have 1 match to play. But if I'm not mistaken, I think tonight is the last game. So this point standing is a little out, because I think St. Paul's would have gone to 6 points, and Poinciana would have remained on 5. So it looks like the semifinals, that has already been set. Molyneux Keon played 5, winning 4, losing 1. They are on 8 points. Sandy Point, they played 5 as well. They've won 3. They've lost 1. And there was a tied match. Now, that was a funny situation, that tied match situation. Sandy Point, I think they bowled at the end of the 20 overs. Poinciana, no, it's Young Gun, I think it was. They had made 149. So the target was 150 to win. But somehow there was a mix-up, and they were going by from what I understand, the score on the board. And they came off the field when they thought the match had ended, and they had won Sandy Point. And there was the shaking of hands, and everybody congratulating, only to be told that, hey, no, the scoreboard was wrong. The scoreboard was 2 runs short. When they were saying that it should have been 3, it was 2. It was actually 3 they needed. So when they got those 2 runs and they came off, the match ended in a tie. It was under the conditions. There's a super over. However, that is only for the semi-finals and the finals, where there must be a winner. For the regular season, if it is a tie, it is a tie. There's no super over or anything else, any tiebreaker. Everybody got a point. So that is how Sandy Point ended their 5 matches on 7 points. And they are into the semi-finals. La Poinciana, they have 4 according to the stats, and 5 worst case scenario, they and 7. So I'm giving these results with not just a pinch of salt, a really lot of salt. I have to get that clarified. But in terms of the stats so far, Jaleel Clark, he's a right-handed batsman from Molyneux. He's leading the runs aggregate. He had 5 innings from 5 matches, obviously. He scored 232 runs, with his highest score being 87 not out. And he averaged 116 runs, hitting 16 fours and 12 sixes. He had 250s. Joshua Grant from Sandy Point Cricket Club, I think he's actually among Stratton, the wicketkeeper. He is second with 194 runs, his highest score being 79. He had 2 not outs, averaging 194. Very healthy average. Hitting 12 sixes, 17 fours. He had 3 half centuries. I think they were pretty big half centuries, 60 plus, 70 plus. Mikhail Louis of La Poinciana, he had 187 runs. He's third. 4 matches, highest score of 134 not out. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he is the only centurion we had in this tournament. And he made that century, and I think it was the second game. Supporters were expecting him to be blasting all the bowlers up and down, but that wasn't to be. He had 1 not out, hitting 7 sixes, 18 fours. He didn't have a half century, just the 1 century. Larry Odein from Molyneux Cricket Club, he is in at 4th with 148 runs, highest 72 runs. And he struck 9 sixes, 12 fours, with an average of 29.6. He had 250s. And he is in the 4th position. Welton Edwards of Young Guns, he had an aggregate of 148 runs from his 5 innings, a highest of 72. He had 9 sixes, 12 fours, 250s, and he didn't come not out at any point. And obviously, once you come not out, that would boost your average tremendously, because if you batted 4 times, and let's say you made, for argument's sake and simple maths, 100 runs, and you were out all 4 times, it means then that your average is 25. However, if you came, let's say, 2 not out, the average is found by the total number of runs divided by how many times you were out. So if you made 100 runs and you were only out twice, it's 100 divided by 2, so your average now becomes 50. So it's very important when you're batting, irrespective of how many runs you have, 2, 3, 5, 7, to come not out, because that definitely boosts your average. If you look at the bowling element of it, Clayton Skeet, who's a slow arm, left arm orthodox from Young Guns, he had 4 innings, picking up 9 wickets, averaging 11.89 runs per wicket, and the maximum he got was 3 wickets. Tariq Newton, left arm medium for Sandy Point Cricket Club, he had 8 wickets, averaging 12.63, and he picked up a 3-4. Shane Jeffers, the veteran, right arm off break for Sandy Point, he's in 3rd. He picked up 6 wickets, averaging 10.5, and he had a 3-4 as well. Cordell Cook, this youngster I've been looking at for quite some time, the son of Curtis Cook. And if I believe there is to be a parent of the year for cricket and support, I think that's Curtis. He will be in strong contention. Very, very supportive. I remember him walking around his son. His son has a bat and the bat was taller than him. That's how long he's having him around the cricket. So Cordell Cook, right arm leg break bowler, and he played for Sandy Point. He had 6 wickets, averaging 14, and he had a 4-4, 4 wickets, a 4-wicket haul. He missed out on the 5. Josh Leader from St. Paul's, he's a right arm leg break bowler. He picked up 6 wickets as well. Cordell's average was 14, Josh's 12.67, and he had a 4-4 as well. In terms of the feeling, Joshua Grant, he had 4 dismissals, 1 caught behind, 1 assistant run out, 3 stumpings. He's with Sandy Point Cricket Club. Jerickson Louis, La Poinciana, he had 4 dismissals, 3 catches, 1 stumping. Jerickson Louis, I know him to be, is this the bowler bat? But look like that family is very, very talented. Kevin Paris of the Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force, he had 4 dismissals as well. 3 catches and 1 run out. Mikhail Louis, this is the tallest of the 3, the opening bat. He had 4 dismissals, 4 catches. Dylan Liddy of Sandy Point Cricket Club, he had 4 dismissals as well, 4 catches. And in terms of the MVP, Jaleel Clark, Molyneux, Keon, Mikhail Louis, Clayton Skeet, Larry Odin, Molyneux, Welton, Edwards, Shane Jeffers, Sandy Point, Joshua Gwan, Sandy Point, Tariq Newton, Sandy Point, Kevon Esdell, St. Paul's, Jerry Snooy, La Poinciana, Rohan Laborde, the Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force. He was also an MVP. Sheena Berridge, he picked up 1. Josh Leader, Greg Stanley of St. Paul, Cordell Cook, as I mentioned, and a few others would have been MVPs throughout. So during the program, we'll try to get some information for you in terms of how the game is going. And a reminder, you're listening to On the Ball, which is a weekly 2-hour sports program here on WINNFM 98.9 every Tuesday from 7 to 9. It is being sponsored by Cayenne Jet at the RLB International Airport. And I'm your host, Troy Biff Mills. Cayenne Jet is a 5-star private air terminal providing luxury services and a relaxing environment for guests arriving to and departing from the beautiful islands of St. Kitts and Nevis. Our exclusive state-of-the-art terminal is available to passengers of private and commercial jets. Relax and be pampered in a luxurious space while your immigration and baggage requisites are being addressed at the Cayenne Jet up at RLB. And of course, you're free to call in, share your views, make your suggestions, observations. It is a sporting program. It's not football or cricket, it's sport. It so happened that tonight we started off with cricket. We're going to be touching a bit of football. And we already have the full contingent here from the St. Kitts and Nevis Olympic Committee. A very powerful contingent, to say so myself. And not because one of them a little on the skinny side. Very, very powerful in sport, track and field, basketball, SKNOC. And they're there. We're going to be getting to them in a few. And we're expecting the St. Kitts and the Nevis Athletics. We're expecting a coach and the general secretary, as well as the St. Kitts and the Nevis Tennis Association. That is lawn tennis. And if we go to some football, and we're going to be touching World Cup cricket, because a little later they are at the semi-final stage, World Cup cricket. Who is going to be winning? We are going to be having South Africa versus India versus New Zealand. That match is 4:30 p.m. tomorrow, Wednesday the 15th. And South Africa versus Australia, the second semifinals, Thursday the 16th at 4:30 a.m. Did I say p.m.? It's a.m. in the morning. And people who love cricket, they'll be sleeping all night now, so to wake up 3 o'clock, 3:30, to make sure they don't miss not even the toss. And persons are predicting an India-Australia final. At the start of the tournament earlier, I was predicting an India-New Zealand semi-finals, but New Zealand faltered in the middle. And Australia, they kept going from strength to strength, especially when they were 91-7 against Afghanistan. And Afghanistan gave them that game on a platter. And after going from 91-7 to 292-7, they have all right to believe that they could win the tournament. Maxwell 201 not out. But my money is on India. I would really like India to win the World Cup for various reasons. I think they've been the most consistent team over the past year or two. And Kohli, I think he's in the best form of his life. And strangely enough, since India started this IPL, which is perhaps the biggest franchise cricket in the world, they haven't won any shorter version, and they were second in the Test series. They haven't won an international, a world, 50 overs, a world T20. And now the Champions Trophy, they haven't won anything, so their shelf is bare, barren. So they will need to win this in India. But as a matter of fact, let us come back to cricket a little, to the football. If we go to cricket, and we stay in cricket actually, but we go to the regional scene, and I know Daddy T, my technician on duty, I say good night to him. He was a man up and down with the West Indies females as one of the videographers and the tech man, and no doubt he's probably fuming with Leewards and how and what would have happened. Leewards, they would have given away a game against Trinidad and Tobago in the finals, actually. And persons are fuming. Fuming, and when I say fuming, Leeward Islands, they batted first. They were 135 all out in 141.5 overs. Jamal Hamilton batting at 462. And that was the only score of what? Hayden Walsh batting at 8. He was 20. And we had Terence Hines for Trinidad and Tobago picking up a 3-4. So did Sunil Narine. You just can't keep Sunil Narine out of the wickets column. And Trinidad and Tobago, they went in and they were 141 for 3 in 23.4 overs, making very, very light work of the Leeward Islands. Darren Bravo, I think he has had some good scores for the year. A lot of persons were getting ready to write him off because a few years ago he was to be the next Brian Lara. He was to be the replacement for Brian Lara, Lefanda to Brian Lara. I think they're related as well. And he hasn't been coming, but he has made some runs. He was 40 from 35 balls. Nicholas Puran 39 from 20 balls. And they did the bulk of the work. Hayden Walsh, again, Hayden Walsh, he has been having a very, very good season with the ball, and he's made some useful scores as well. So no doubt he's trying to force his way back into the West Indies team, which is possible. And we are Kofi James from Antigua and Barbuda. He picked up 1. And that was it basically for the Leewards. So we say congratulations to Trinidad and Tobago, the 2023 CG United Super 50 champions. And Daddy Trent over here watching me with a screwed up face. Not really liking that, not liking to hear that. But hey, it's the luck of the draw. And I think a lot of persons had high hopes for the Leewards, especially earlier clock. And with Kyron Powell, he would have made a 70-something. And not out, I think it was in a very early game, but not being consistent. And I'm going to say something that perhaps some persons may have heard before. And I always thought the gentleman who originally said it was insular. The late Andrew Weeks from Sandy Point, SP with the best, may his soul rest in peace. He made no bones about saying, when Sandy Point cricket is strong, St. Kitts cricket is strong. And when St. Kitts cricket is strong, Leeward Islands cricket is strong. And when Leeward Islands cricket is strong, West Indies cricket is strong. And he made no bones about it. I used to think that he was somewhat insular because he's from Sandy Point, and to him, Sandy Point was the best place in the world, and I believe so as well. However, I heard the late Stanley Franks, may his soul rest in peace. He repeated that several times as well, but he left off the first part, the Sandy Point part. I heard him say several times, when St. Kitts cricket is strong, Leeward Islands cricket is strong. And when Leeward Islands cricket is strong, West Indies cricket is strong. And I am recalling, and I'm subject to correction, last time when Stainless cricket was really strong, that it was when we had like 5-6 Leeward Islanders in the team. And when we had 5-6 Leeward Islanders in the West Indies team, we had about 4-5-6 conditions in the Leeward's team as well. And we have faltered over the years. And that is something that we will have to look at. It's now 7:28, and we still have our guests. They're going to be coming on in a bit. You're listening to On the Ball here on WINN FM 98.9, a 2-hour weekly program every Tuesday night from 7 to 9 with your host, Troy Biff Mills. And it is sponsored by Cayenne Jet. And we say a very big thank you to them. You can call us at any point, 466-0989, 662-0989, and share your views, observations, comments, suggestions, or you could even WhatsApp me, 668-2055, if you're, of course, in St. Kitts or Nevis. And if you're overseas, not in St. Kitts and Nevis, you can send me a WhatsApp, 869-668-2055. And we are streaming live on Facebook and also on YouTube. And in thanking our sponsors, at Cayenne Jet, every trip is personal, and we tailor each arrival and departure to the individual guests, making sure our beautiful lounges are the luxury escape from their tiring journeys, helping them to relax, renew, and revitalize. I like that. Relax, renew, revitalize. Our highly experienced staff are on hand to deal not only with normal day-to-day procedures, but with special requests and individually tailored solutions to meet the demands of today's unique travel needs. From arrival to departure and beyond, all private or business travel needs are met with uncommon dedication and personalized care at Cayenne Jet. And we say a very big thank you, Cayenne Jet, located at the Robert Llewellyn Bratcher International Airport up at Golden Rock, right here in St. Kitts, and thank them for coming on board and sponsoring this program on WINN FM 98.9. I did mention that we have quite a packed program, and we do. We have some football to talk about and some swimming going on down in the Windwards, and St. Kitts and Nevis is represented. And we're going to give a little information about that, and we are hoping to have them not next week, but week after God's Spear. Next week, we're going to be having the Department of Sports with us, and they're going to be talking about the high school championships, primary school, and the high school, secondary school. And we do have some information about that. And we also have some information from a football point of view about the on the 13, on the 15, and the on the 15, that is the Atiba Harris on the 15 competition, the Keith Kayamba Gums on the 17 league, all males, and the Elvis Star Brown female league. And with that, the finals are actually happening tonight, where Keon, they are coming up, Flo 4G Keon Rockets, they are coming up against Old Road in the first semi-finals, and it is Newtown United, they are coming up against the Queen City Young Ladies, and we say congratulations to the young ladies out of Queen City for making it into the semis, because that's a relatively new thing, female football, for them. And we're going to put a pause on that, because what we're going to do, we're going to go straight to Studio B and invite our guests to come on board. And they are indeed having a very healthy conversation. Track and field, always something positive and working. And I am going to say good evening to my three guests in the studios. I'm going to let them tell you who they are. And welcome, gentlemen, to On the Ball here at Win FM 98.9. Thank you for taking time out from your very extremely busy schedules to be with us. And may I have you, gentlemen, tell our listeners who they have the pleasure of listening from Studio B.
Good night. Good night, Troy, and to your listening audience. First up is Mr. Glenn Jeffers, here, Secretary General for the St. Kitts and Nevis Olympic Committee.
Good night to Mr. Mills and everyone out there who is listening. This is Lonzo Wilkinson, the Technical Director for Track and Field.
Good night all. Lester Hanley, Executive Member of the SKNOC.
Gentlemen, thank you again for being here with us. General Secretary, Executive Member, and the coach, was it, Lanza?
Technical Director and coach.
Technical Director
and coach. And national coach, yes.
Mr. Jeffers, could you give us a little idea about the SKNOC, St. Kitts and Nevis Olympic Committee? Who and what are you? What are you responsible for?
Yes, my responsibility really is running the Secretariat and overseeing the Olympic Solidarity programs. The Olympic Committee, as you know, is the body in St. Kitts and Nevis that represents the Olympic Committee with respect to the participation in Olympic sports and other Olympic activities. Our membership involves national federations that are mainly on the Olympic program and who would have submitted application, etc., and been accepted at the General Assembly by our membership. So all in all, from my standpoint, the workhorse, the Secretariat, which entails 2 staff, we really execute all the programs and the activities of in the whole Olympic movement in St. Kitts and Nevis.
And we're just doing some adjustments here, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you for being with us, and we do apologize. And
go ahead, Troy, go ahead.
Yes, you're hearing me. Everything is okay now?
Yes, I could hear you. Just the mic, understand.
Okay. And where is the office of the SKNOC located?
Well, it's on Taylor's Range. That's where we have built a brand new building. It was completed last year, and we had the opening. I think it was in May, Lester, if I'm not correct, in May last year, with the funds from the Pan Am Sports, who assisted us through the COVID times and while we were doing the construction. So we're on Taylor's Range, a big white building there with our signage, St. Kitts and Nevis Olympic Committee, etc.
Thanks a lot. I'll get back to you. Mr. Hanley, as an executive member, tell us what some of your duties are and how you've been operating.
Various duties, Troy. Good night again. Various duties. One of my prime areas of focus is the marketing and the media relations for the SKNOC. But I am a member of the Games Committee, and that committee is primarily responsible for the planning and organizing of the SKNOC's representation at various competitions throughout the year.
Thank you very much, Lester. And what about you, Lanza?
Well, as the name director, technical personnel, my job is to develop track and field from the grassroots level way up to the elite level. That include academies for under 13, grassroots for under 13, academy for under 15, character team development, national team development. So a whole program all the way up to the elite level. And also coaching development and coaching education. So those are the areas that I am mainly in charge of.
That sounds like it is exciting, but it also sounds very, very challenging.
It is.
From the under 13 up to elite.
Yes.
And for those persons who may not know, who or what is considered an elite athlete? Could I be considered an elite athlete?
You wish. Are those athletes who have go on the world scene, who is making money from just the sports itself, from running, jumping or throwing? Those who will be considered elite athletes, those who are making money from the sport itself.
Also,
and those who have left college and are performing at the highest level, World Championship, Olympics, CAC, Pan Ams. Those are considered elite athletes.
So athletes who make the national team represent St. Kitts and Nevis.
At the senior level.
At the senior level. However, they're living here in St. Kitts and Nevis and working in St. Kitts and Nevis. Would they be considered elite athletes, even though they represent St. Kitts and Nevis?
Yes.
So
there are different levels of the elite athletes itself. Different levels.
Could you give us an idea of those different levels?
Those who are pro athletes who just run totally nothing else. Those are the pro athletes. They're the elite pro athletes. Those who are semi-pro, they probably would work and run at the same time. And those who are aspiring to be semi. So it's a ladder. It's a stepping ladder. So it's those who are aspiring, those who are working but still trying to get into the pro level, and those who are pro athletes.
Okay.
Those 3 stages.
And inside, could you give us an idea of maybe numbers we have, just a ballpark figure and 1 or 2 examples of whose persons could actually relate to them?
We don't have any pro athletes. We have athletes who are running at that level anymore. We had Kim Collins, who was one of the only pro athletes we had at that level, who I could think about. And Antoine Adams. Those are the 2 I could attest to. The others were semi, where they would work, or they would probably get some form of solidarity funding from the NOC, where they would use that funding for training to get to that pro level.
I understand. And over the years, track and field, in my humble view, has developed to perhaps the biggest spectator sport we have had in the federation. We have in the federation. Some may argue football.
Be careful. I just said be careful because football.
Some may argue football. But when it comes to the football, yes, you have spectators. But you only get in my humble view, the large crowds. When big teams are playing, yes, you have some fairly decent size crowds. But when you get to the Super 6, as it were this year, and then the crowds get big, especially in the finals, and especially for this year when we had a 3-match final.
Yes.
But I'm thinking when there's the Rams Primary School Championship, not even space up there to hold a secret. And when you have the TDC Inter-School Championships, the high schools, that again, it's sell-off. And even when you have your development meets, I'm getting that the crowds are very, very, very supportive.
Then you have the golf insurance in Nevis.
Remember the golf insurance in Nevis?
That's called the mini Olympics, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And I think one of the very good things that the Nevis Island Assembly, they do, if I'm not mistaken, they give it as a public half holiday. So it encourages the parents to go out and watch the children, which in my view is a very, very big thing. I don't think we've had enough of that happening here in St. Kitts and Nevis. However, having said that, I must compliment the Department of Sports, because the ongoing primary school and secondary school competition, parents are actually coming out and supporting. I'm wondering if they're not actually confusing the children, Lester, because the mother is telling the child, kick here and kick the ball, and the father is telling the child, kick someplace else and do something else. And you still have the coach ushering instructions onto. But it's all fun, and I'll dare say, some of the crowds at these primary school and secondary school games are bigger than the Premier League games we've been having. I may get some stick for that, but it's well supported. And, well, since we're on you, we'll stay a bit, and we're going to come back to Lester, because, he just came back from the Pan Am Games, so he's going to be telling us a little about that. But
Well, all of us came from the Pan Am Games.
Yeah, also.
well, he has a special. Well,
Yeah.
okay, I might as well mention it, but I'm thinking of the name he has.
Okay. I see.
A special name, but he's
Okay.
going to tell us about it.
Okay.
But when is considered the track and field season per se? Way back when, for example, I know we played cricket from January to about June, July, and then we played football from June, July to about December. But now cricket is played basically year round, as is the case. There's a game tonight, and football is also played year round. But is track and field the same, or do you have a season and non-season? Don't get me wrong. Football there's not a time off, the end of the season, which ended a month ago. But then we have a lot of football being played around the country still. St. Peter's Connery just started a league there a few weeks ago. But in terms of track and field, do you have a season or a period where?
As you rightfully said, back in the day, you had a season where most sports started and stopped. Track and field in itself has a season, but look at Pan Am Games. It ends up in November, and that's normally where most athletes use it for preparation, their preparation period. But for most of them, this year it had to use it as a competition period. So those athletes would have to start the preparation later in the year, in December. Some might just go straight to a year-round season. So I'm thinking it's coming year-round. It's becoming year-round because based on where you will have some of those meets, if it's in the southern hemisphere, their summer is in November, December. So the competition have to be around that time. No more that the competition are in the northern hemisphere where summer is in August, July, August. It's all around the world, and so it's becoming year-round. And even some of the meets that the World Athletics have for the pro athletes, they're almost year-round as well. The Diamond Leagues and those kind of things are almost year-round. And so I think I could manfully say that it's a year-round sports going forward.
And I remember when I used to try a thing with track and field at the Sandy Point High School. Sports day, as we used to call it, is mostly in March. So you'll get up January, start going hills, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, when the place seems to be just heading towards getting brighter. I tell people I used to be way up in the mountain training after 5 minutes to 6, and I hear fishermen out on the sea talking. Boy, I throw the net on the left and going out with most things. You hear it clearly. But what I notice now, some schools at least, they start preparing even from this term, in November, December. But how does that affect the athletes in terms of, one, resting the body and the muscles, and recovery?
Well, Mr. Mills, you're talking about a different level of athletes. The high school athletes are different from the pros. Most of the high school athletes just do a collegiate season, where when school open, that's when they start September, November, they start training. And then when sports finish in March, that's it for them, because there's nothing else after that. It's only if some of those athletes are attached to a club, then they'll compete for a national championship, they'll compete for club championship, or they'll try to make a team somewhere, whether it's a Pan Am Juniors, World Juniors, Youth Olympics, something like that, which will be later down in August thereabout. Or even Commonwealth Youth that happened this year in Trinidad. So there's a lot of meets now that are available for the high school athletes. So most of them, if they're good enough, will continue on after Carifta. Once upon a time, after Carifta done, that was it for track and field for most of the athletes, unless you were trying to be an elite athlete. But nowadays, there's so much meets after Carifta that you have to keep your athletes prepared, keep them peaking. And so within the track and field, we call things double peaking. So you would peak for Carifta, bring them back down, peak them for maybe a World Juniors or Commonwealth Youth Games or even a Youth Olympics. So those athletes will get a double peak. So that's something you have to do as a coach. You have to know how to peak your athletes.
I'm going to ask you about double peaking at the moment, just now, but you're listening to WINNFM 98.9. The program is On the Ball. It's a 2-hour sport program brought to you by Cayenne Jet at RLB International Airport. I am Troy Biff Mills, your host, and I have with me in the studios the St. Kitts and Nevis Olympic Committee, Mr. Glenn Jeffers, the Secretary General, Mr. Lonzo Wilkinson, Development, Track and Field, Technical Director and Coach, and Mr. Lester Hanley, Executive Member. He's responsible for marketing and media. And we have to say a very big thank you to our sponsors, Cayenne Jet, because obviously without a sponsor, we cannot have a program. And Cayenne Jet is all about effortless airport luxury. Enjoy the one-of-a-kind boutique airport service that you can only find on the thrilling islands of St. Kitts and Nevis. While our chef serves up island specialities, you can relax in Cayenne Jet Luxury Lounge with its stylish blend of local and contemporary decor. Most of all, you can lose yourself in the nothing's too much trouble service which Cayenne Jet is well known for. From immigration formalities to dine-in reservations to private jet charter, or attentive and intuitive concierge teams takes care of every little detail. And we're talking about Cayenne Jet. It's located at the RLB International Airport at Golden Rock. They are the sponsors for tonight's show. And we go back to our guests in studio, Mr. Glenn Jeffers, Mr. Lonzo Wilkinson, and Mr. Lester Hanley. You mentioned peaking and double peaking. So are you telling me that you work on me to get me fit and ready and perform at my best for the Carifta Games, for example, and after that, you take my levels down to bring it up again to another competition?
And maybe next to a next level.
How is that done?
It's a ticklish thing to do, but as coaches, you have to know what you're doing in order to get athletes peak, bring them back down, take them back up. It's like stepping up steps. If you have 5 steps, you step up 3. That's a peak for at Carifta. Then you step back down to step 2, and you call step 2 preparation for the next level, and then you go 2, 3, 4, and then 5 up for the next peaking for maybe a world championship or something like that, a world juniors or the case maybe.
So I'm at level 3. I go back to level 2.
Go back to level 2. You go back to maybe a 2 months training when you did before, so just to keep you there.
Could I eat up a lot of ice cream and hamburgers and junk food and all of that, and then come back and start working it off to get back peak? Or do you have a strict diet, though you go down in the preparatory mode? Is the training less as well?
No. What I will tell you, though, you have to look at yourself as a Ferrari. People don't train any kind of gas in a Ferrari. If you want your car to perform at a different optimal level, you really have to put in high octane gas. And the same thing with eating. You cannot be eating junk to perform and expect to perform at the highest level. And that's something that we are trying to get our athletes to do. Nutrition is very important when it comes to our athlete development and sustaining even the peaking, because the athlete might run good today, Sunday, and you want them to run again the same level next Sunday, even the day after. And then because of the energy level, they don't have it.
Oh, no gas in the tank.
Yeah, basically, if you want to say that.
Locally.
Yeah, you burn off fast. You want it to be able to sustain. And so as coaches, we have to work with nutritionists. We have to work with parents. Some of us have to actually help feed the athlete itself if you want at that level.
Okay, that's wonderful. Mr. Jeffers, Lester did mention several competitions all days and weeks and months of the year. How does the SKNOC choose, or is it the responsibility of the SKNOC to choose what meets St. Kitts and Nevis will be represented at? Is it the SKNOC's responsibility? And if so or not so, how is that done? We're going to go to this one, we're not going to go to that one. We're going to go to these 2 and not those 3.
Well, the SKNOC have in the quadrennial, in the 4-year cycle, because we normally go on a 4-year plan, there are a number of competitions that the NOC, that falls under the responsibility of the St. Kitts and Nevis Olympic Committee. things like the Commonwealth Games for the seniors, Commonwealth Youth Games. You have the Pan Am Senior Games, you have the Pan Am Junior Games, you have the Olympic Senior Games, you have the Olympic Youth Games, you have the CAC Beach Games, the regular CAC Games, etc. Those are the ones.
Youth Games.
And they got the Caribbean Games. So a number of games that fall under the Olympic Committee responsibility. Having shared that information with our respective members, okay, they identify the competition, not the national federation, but the continental bodies or the international federation identify the what we call the qualification criteria. They tell you what competitions, whether it's ranking or whether it's for, you can qualify to get in. So once you participate in those, as part of the whole qualification, then we're now moving slowly through a pathway, a qualification pathway where you come to final selection. But because our talent pool is so small, it does not be that difficult. But as we have more and more athletes coming through the pipeline, it can get challenges, as we call in the early years, 2008, 2012. Yeah, when we only had Kim once, and then we ended up having four we had Antoine, Jason, and
BJ.
Yeah, in the sport of athletics. So, but most of the time, you can really see the athlete or two who's going through to going to be finally called up by the local organizing committee. Mind you, it's not so much about a selection committee anymore. It's more about ranking. And being called up where you rank on the world list, and they're calling you up. In other words, they're picking you based on your performance. It's not like you're there sitting or watching some fellas playing and say, oh, he good. No. Where you rank in the world, and some tell you, well, you could get in the 100 if you're in the top, 48, 100? And different. So you got to perform. The world athletics have changed. I think it was in 2020, 2021, they moved to ranking. Before you used to just want to once you also want a qualifying time and you're in. No, you're qualifying. Yeah, you ain't in yet. You're being considered, getting closer to the short list. And they would just send you a list, say, well, these are the athletes who can participate in the games. And if sometimes it's only one male or it's one female, they will say, we'll find another slot for you for what we call the gender equity, meaning that to encourage women's participation, you more or less have to look for a woman who may not in the short list, but might be in the wider list.
Okay.
So they're picking it for you. Well, let me say, not they're picking it for you. Your performance will tell me whether you get called up.
And from what you're saying, you could be doing better times than me, but I'm ranking higher than you because I competed in whatever competition. But I make a meet and you don't.
Exactly.
Even though you're doing quicker times than me.
Yeah, quicker times and certain meets count more than some.
Exactly. That's interesting. But I could relate to that because coming out of the Pan Am Games in table tennis, the champion, if I'm not mistaken, I saw some information just today that the champion teams and the runner-up, they are automatically qualified for next year Olympics.
Yes, correct.
So that happens, and you indicated we will know the petition, the SKNOC, and they will filter that down to the National Association. Yes. What are the qualifying games, where and when, etc., etc. So it's up to us now to prepare ourselves accordingly to go to the various games.
And I might like to add to, you asked Lonzo some pertinent question that is in season and out of season. So you understand where it's going to go. You really got to be in peak.
Technically in season 24/7.
Taking these, exactly.
7 days a week.
And also taking these competitions seriously because they count. You and a man might be close there and a man edge out because he take part in certain
that
ways
season.
that you didn't take.
Like for instance, Pan Am's, like I said, it's more the time when most athletes do preparation. So a lot of athletes would have up to go to Pan Am's, but those who went at least got a ranking mark as would be ranked for to 2024 and would have a mark going forward.
And we get a notice from them indicating that Mr. Bunting is now on the shortlist in.
Yes.
Even though his time is not the 19.7. I cannot bring up anybody.
Because of his showing.
Yeah, I cannot bring up anybody above him.
because of his performance,
Exactly.
his
Yeah.
bronze medal in the
The
200 meters.
The only thing could knock him out if he's not in good discipline, or he got sanctioned for something to knock him out, and then have to go to the next year.
Okay.
He come out, he medal at the Pan Am Games 1 year, 9 months, 10 months before the Olympics. He's basically on the right path.
So the
He's
Olympics.
in.
Wow, that
He
is
secured,
interesting.
he really showed himself number one. Hey, my spot is there, and I have to hold on to it. Because the season again, for those in the Northern Hemisphere, starts in March. March next year. Fellas might be flying because it's Olympic year.
Well, so everybody looking to get in.
Everybody looking to get in.
And well, obviously as a sportsman, I know that. But when I ask the questions, there's some persons, Jane Doe, John Doe, who may not know.
Yeah.
And you mentioned with the qualifying, because even with the netball, the St. Kitts and Nevis Netball Association, they competed in a tournament in Antigua
that's
and
correct.
also one in St. Martin.
Yes.
And I think they could accrue points that will go towards their world ranking.
Yes.
And
Similar with volleyball. Similar to volleyball.
okay, that and most correct, because Mr. Sean Sibooks and his partner Hodge, Sinclair Hodge, I know they go to various beach volleyball competitions throughout the Caribbean and further afield. They've been to Central America, etc. And they're gaining points from participating and placing, etc., etc. That is really a tough road, but I understand, because you have to be in peak form throughout, like you mentioned.
So it's like a full-time job, right?
Yeah, it is. So you wonder, with all these playing and things, man, these guys, when they don't work, and that's the disadvantage with us here in the Caribbean, perhaps. And you mentioned the small numbers, small pool. When you don't put in a hard 8-to-4 job, especially if your boss got to stress you out or people stress you out, and then you still got to put in a 2 hours, 3 hours work after, and you still get your family life and the madam and the children and help with homework and things. It's really a serious sacrifice. But at the end of the day, when you get on the podium, I believe, you believe, well, all of it would have worth it. It would have been worth it all. Generally, how expensive or inexpensive is it, Glenn, to send a team, and the team comprises one person to any amount of number, correct?
Well, let me try to let me see if I can give you some kind of numbers. Okay, in preparing for the 2022 Commonwealth Games, okay, our athletes, we actually participated with 2 male athletes and 1 female, correct, Alonzo?
Yes.
Yeah. It runs us over 300, well, preparation leading up to and taking part in the competition, over $311,000 we incurred.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just for 3 athletes, basically.
Well, we didn't start off with 3. The thing about it, didn't start with because preparation, so you can't start preparation.
Of course, yes.
We end up with 3
you start with a squad.
You start with a squad.
But only those 3 would have qualified.
Only 3 would have come through.
And of course, you would have your support team, your coaches, your manager, etc., your physio, and walk.
Remember, and the sports I'm talking about was just athletics.
Athletics, yeah.
Wow. Because at the time, there's no tennis, there's no...
The volleyball.
Oh, no, the beach volleyball. My bad. There was beach volleyball. Beach volleyball also. Sorry, beach volleyball were also the Commonwealth Games. My bad. And they too were going to a number of North-Seca tournaments. And FIV beating to get them the ranking to get
up.
in.
Exactly.
Right, to get the ranking up. So then we had the CAC Games in El Salvador. It was just 162 we spent in preparation and participation. But mostly preparation only been done from the Commonwealth Games coming through. We only ended up with volleyball again, tennis and athletics. Okay, I was next to El Salvador, and then going down to the Pan Am Games in Chile, we had almost 336,000.
Wow.
Okay, so between those senior games, we had about over $809,000, right? And on the youth side, when I say the youth, that's the under 23 and the under 18s. We did take part in 2021 in the Pan Am Junior Games. Again, we only spent about 6 to 7 with the small, about 2 athletes at the time.
2, it was 2.
2 females.
2 females, yeah.
Yeah. And then we did take part to the beach team.
The females.
Yeah, the beach male team, Zenga and things.
Oh, the youngsters,
The youngsters. When they introduced them first to them. Then that was about a little 67,000. Then we had the beach games in Santa Marta, Colombia, and had over 54,000. And then the Caribbean Games was in Guadeloupe, we had a bigger group. It had over 102,000. And then the 2023 Commonwealth Youth Games in Trinidad, that's a little over 102,000. So on the youth side, we spend close to 327,000. And we combine the 809 and the 327, we had over $1.1 million.
Wow.
Yeah,
That-
and we're still going into we now still leading going into the Paris.
Mhm.
But the base coming up by getting smaller.
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
not saying some can come in still, because some athletes might start to peak
Control.
in them time, but the ones who don't think with most of the time, most of them are really dropping off because as the time or the thing, the market trying to get tight. Because you know, one of them who sprint in the 100, you're down to 10 lows or 9 mids, 9 high.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so just give a good idea
Yes.
how that will give the kind of money. And I don't have a team sport.
Wow.
So you can imagine a team sport.
Football,
Football,
yeah,
25 men.
exactly.
Yeah, you can get
Male and female per se.
Yeah, back what we recall in 2019 when we were female, we had blown the 1.1 when the girls had went to the, I think it was in Houston, they took part in the Olympic qualifier there because they made it to almost the last leg. Well, they made it to the CONCACAF leg, the final leg, but they did not advance.
Advancing.
Yeah. So you can get up into the mills.
Now, you mentioned team sport.
Yeah.
Cricket has just been incorporated into the Olympics for
28, LA 28, yeah.
28.
The LA 28 program, yes.
I know there has been a lot of talk how it's going to be, and I haven't done the research as yet. West Indies, we're playing cricket as West Indies internationally with the
Yes.
ICC. But I don't think ICC recognizes that represent geographical area. They represent individual countries. Saint Kitts, they recognize, forgive me, Saint Kitts and Nevis,
Yes.
Antigua.
Mhm.
So was Saint Kitts and Nevis to play and qualify, which a lot of people start talking about, and that again it will be male and female. So you're thinking of 25, 30 people per team. I don't know. That's 60
Yes,
persons you're talking going.
That's correct.
That this thing gonna be really blown out of the water.
Well,
So-
there's a road to get there first, Biff. The Cricket Association is currently not a member. Is currently not a member of the St. Kitts and Nevis Olympic Committee. And for any sporting body to compete or to participate in the
Under the
Olympic
umbrella.
Games, you would have to be a member.
Yeah.
So that's the path for us. We may very well have good athletes, the possibility of having a cricket team, but first and foremost, they'll have to come in as a member.
Become a
as
member.
the table tennis, as the netball, and everybody else. Membership has a pathway. And once that is done, then we can be looking at that. Yes, it's going to be on the fixture for 2028. They tried it in Birmingham, the Commonwealth Games last year.
Yeah, the female
And
only.
it was successful, and it's only a matter of time before the T20s or even a T10
Yes.
gets onto that.
But notwithstanding, we mentioned the West Indies. Let's have mentioned it. The Commonwealth Games, number of the countries went in individually. But you know, for the England, the England, Wales, and what the next one again? Scotland. They might have competed each other, but the Olympic Games, they're gonna come at one team.
UK.
Because UK,
United Kingdom.
yeah, Great Britain,
Great Britain,
Olympic
yes.
Committee, one.
It's one. Okay,
yeah.
I didn't realize. I
So
thought
the
they
Commonwealth
were-
Games, they don't compete,
Yeah,
but they have to.
For
Team
Olympics.
GB
Team GB.
would be
Great Britain.
Great
Yeah.
Britain, yeah.
Team GB would be
So
the
it's-
Olympic team.
Oh.
Would have to have the qualifying points to get in. So
Okay.
the St. Kitts and Nevis team, they have to compete in some qualifying, which the ICC
Would
and
determine.
Cricket West Indies would have to set up something so you could, in order for those teams to get the qualifying points.
Yeah, so maybe
The rankings, to get the rankings up, so to
and
speak.
could that be current competitions being played, or may
They will
it may be
qualify.
new competitions?
The
being introduced?
competition tend to be, I know in volleyball, it tend to be like two to 3 years out. Yeah. But before the Olympics in 2028, you got the Commonwealth Games 2026. So that would be the first test to see whether or not St. Kitts and Nevis have put together a team. And again, if you're preparing for LA 28, you need to start now.
Of course, of course.
As long as you say you're preparing a team, you're preparing a team for the you're starting now. So what development, what the non-sexy things behind the scene about this in the hard work and so on, you need to be getting down now, so you can see the thing blossom at the end. That's how it is. The work has to go on now.
Yeah, that's a lot of hard work and
Yeah, we are heavy lifting. As let's just say, first and foremost, they need to
become members.
Get the membership. And there are two associations,
the same
as the netball had, and all they had to be sorted out, because the SKNOC only recognized
the St. Kitts and Nevis.
St. Kitts, the one. And we go with the members that's on the Olympic program. And now they're going to be on the program for the next quadrennial, the next 4 years. Our planning will encompass all that kind of thing.
And when does the next quadrennial start?
After the Olympics finish,
after
after Paris done,
then it starts. So it's basically between Olympics. So
yeah.
And that's interesting because I know of the politics, for want of a better expression, between the St. Kitts Netball Association and the Nevis Netball Association back then, and that has been resolved. We now have a St. Kitts and the Nevis Netball Association. So, and there's a St. Kitts Cricket Association and there is a Nevis Cricket Association. So they'll have to come together, the St. Kitts and Nevis.
Yes,
but so how do they? Yes, they work out their differences, and obviously they'll have to change their constitutions.
Yes.
To be part of that.
Yes, all that.
But so they are now. Could you give us an idea of the steps they'll have to take to become that for persons who may not be aware, to become members of the SKNOC?
Well, I think you touched the first one. You would have to have a coming together of the two entities. That's the first thing. They would have to come together. We would do our due diligence to see if they've met the criteria, all the other steps that are required for membership.
Yeah, well, he requires, of course, they come together. They have to have the constitution. They have to be voting on these constitutions. In other words, there's some general meeting which we have to be present ourselves, observe, and then once the constitution is adopted, then there have to be elections.
Okay.
Of that body, so we observe that, etc.
You just can't tell us. We have to. See.
No, we have to.
You're not going to take anybody's word for that.
No, we have to see it happen and make sure. We also, when we get the constitution, we examine the constitution to see it doesn't have any conflicts.
Okay.
With the IOC and also our own thing. So those kind of paperwork, paper pushing kind of thing has to be done. They can be done fairly fast, but cricket is an established sport, so we don't have to depend and say, well, okay, hey, you need a year or two to see if you really having activities or having some national competition. Because you got some sport just pop up overnight and they're saying, but you have not to have a national competition. Your clubs, them in, so only had one meeting, So how sustainable are your whole thing? So those kind of ones, we tend to push a little more pressure on those. But the established ones, we know, yes, they may not have one single body, but they be in a sport that been participating in the federation, and we know they have leagues, and they go to other overseas competition, etc. So that's easy to weed once and for all, those kind of things.
So who would? They need to be a member of the SKNOC.
That's correct.
So who reaches out to who? Does the SKNOC write to both of them and say, hey, this is that, or do they have to take it upon their own?
They have to take that on the children themselves. But the Cricket Association have written to us several times, and we gave them the pathway and we tell them. So they know what to do, but that have to be on their end first. Yeah, we don't dive in there. Can we give suggestions? Yes, but we don't.
Or try to influence the system and
I do, they know the sport, they've been running the sport, and they should be able to iron out those things. But we had helped the Netball Association very closely. We had our Vice President, Mr. Dennis Knight, had working with them because they said they had some challenges, but after a year and a half, was able to get resolved. Is still going to buy along to whether it's clubs or some sports use individual members. Because all they have to be laid out to know how you become a member and what are the responsibility of the members and the voting rights and the whole suite of things,
You're listening to On the Ball here on WinFM 98.9. I am Troy Biff Mills, your host, and I have with me in Studio B Mr. Glenn Jeffers, the Secretary General of the SKNOC, the St. Kitts and Nevis Olympic Committee. With him is Mr. Lester Hanley, an executive member, and Mr. Lonzo Wilkinson, technical director and coach. And the program is being sponsored by Cayenne Jet. We say a very big thank you to Cayenne Jet. They are at the Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw International Airport for coming on board and sponsoring the program. Cayenne Jet is a 5-star private air terminal providing luxury service and a relaxing environment for guests arriving to and departing from the beautiful islands of St. Kitts and Nevis. Our exclusive state-of-the-art terminal is available to passengers of private and commercial jets. Relax and be pampered in a luxurious space while your immigration and baggage requisites are being addressed at Cayenne Jet by the Cayenne Jet staff. And we say a very big thank you to Cayenne Jet for allowing us to have this program here on WinFM 98.9. On the Ball, the name of the show, and it is held every Tuesday from 7 to 9 p.m. And you can also follow us on Facebook as well as YouTube. The numbers to call, and you can call in and make a contribution, 466-0989, 662-0989, and you could ask any of these kind gentlemen a question, ask a clarification, and make a recommendation, suggestion if you care to. And if you're shy and you don't want to call, I tell people I'm shy, and I don't believe I do a very good job convincing people. But I say I'm very shy. You can you can actually send me a WhatsApp at 668-2055. Or you can, if you're overseas, you can actually send 869-668-2055. And I'm having a comment here. The sport of Taekwondo has athletes that qualify for these meets. How can the SKNOC help Taekwondo? And the first question is Taekwondo a registered member of the SKNOC?
Yes, the St. Christopher Navy Taekwondo Federation is a member, yes.
Okay, so that's a good thing. So it therefore means then some reaching out would have to be done by the St. Kitts and Nevis Taekwondo Association, because you mentioned there must be meets and championships, etc. They must be active, for want of a better expression. And that is a very good question. So the listener, have your president contact the SKNOC, and they'll be able to provide whatever clarification is needed. And we thank you for your input. Yes, sir.
Let me just say something about that. You can compete in an event for Taekwondo and place. But as we said before, most of these events come about now with rankings. So if you go to one event and you place in the event, you may not rank anywhere close to somebody that's constantly competing on the circuit and getting those points up. So you might say, well, I've won this particular event, but Biff has been competing for the last 9 months and he's ranked 75. You winning the one event might have gotten you a ranking of 140. Clearly, Biff will be selected over you, or Biff will have a better chance of being selected over you when it comes to these regional and international events.
That's very interesting. And since you're on the floor, Lester, my understanding is that you were a part of the contingent at the Pan Am Games in Chile, was it?
That's correct.
And I gather you had a special title, Chef de Mission.
It's called Chef de Mission.
One second.
French.
The only chef I know is people who cook food and things.
The CHEF.
So
French word, Chef de Mission.
Are you the man who goes down to cook for the contingent? Could you tell us a bit of what the Chef de Mission is all about?
So
how does one become one?
The Chef de Mission is basically the head of the delegation, or the head of international sporting event. You're the person that leads the delegation, and really and truly, we're responsible for the quality of life for the team members, the delegation that leaves the federation to go to represent the federation. To become a chef de mission, I would have understudied a number of persons working from assistant manager, national team, to manager, general manager, assistant chef, right up to chef de mission. It is not something that you just get up tomorrow and jump into, because it involves a lot of work behind the scenes in preparing teams and preparing to move teams from point A to point B, working with the organizing committees and different host governments to take a national team into a country to participate, to represent your federation or your country. In Pan Am, at the Pan Am Games, I was the chef de mission. The term chef de mission comes from the old Greek, well, it comes from the modern Olympic Games, really. That was founded by Baron Pierre de Coubertin back in 1894. So a lot of those terms and names have a French twist to them, because the modern day games came out of this forming of the International Olympic Committee back in 1894. So it basically just means the head of the delegation. To the Pan Am Games this year, our delegation was 9 persons in the Pan Am Games village and 3 persons outside of the Pan Am Games village. So it's a mixture of what we call the Games family, invited guests by the Pan Am Sports. In that case, you would have the president and the secretary general. And then in the village side of it, where the chef is housed, you would have the athletes, coaches, and other officials. For the Pan American Games this year, we had 5 athletes. 5 athletes, 2 coaches, 1 medical official, and the chef de mission resident in the Pan Am Games village.
Oh, okay, that's very interesting. So, as the chef de mission, how long in advance, if you are to go down in advance, do you have to go?
It varies on the event. In most cases, the chef probably goes in a week in advance, because you're going to make sure that all preparations are made for the arrival of the team. So once the team and the athletes, the officials start arriving, everything should be in place. Everything from, when you look at a modern day, what we call Olympic Village, it's a mini city. We've been in games villages that had anywhere from 7,000 people to 13,000
Wow.
people. We've been in games villages that had their own police station, fire station, medical
Whoa.
facilities, hospital.
Whole entire
stuff like that.
community.
So it's a community, it's a city, so to speak.
Mhm.
And you're the representative for the country there. When you go to the Olympic Games, you can have games villages that have in excess of 10,000 people. 200 plus countries participating, over 10,000 people. And of those 200 countries, you have 1 chef de mission. And that person is responsible for the entire delegation that's coming from that country. Now, a lot of times our delegations are small, but if you have team sports, you can see yourself coming there with a delegation of 100, maybe 100 plus people. So that chef de mission may have an assistant chef or 2 assistant chefs and 3 general managers and so on. There's some separation of duties. In our case, we are fortunate enough not to have that size team. And 1 person or our small management team is able to go in and deal with it. But really and truly, we're responsible for managing the team from the preparation stages back home, taking the team there, the quality of life there, and making sure that everybody gets back.
Is there one athlete village, or do you have several according to the size of the event?
The model has changed over the years. It used to be 1 village. We are seeing now more what they refer to as satellite villages.
Satellite villages.
So in Chile, where we were sailing, was at a particular beach, a particular area, a particular type of sailing. Then you had kiteboarding, and you had surfing and different things. So they've been moving them around and having what they call satellite villages. It's very difficult, really and truly, when you're going to house thousands of people, to have to walk into a hotel that can house 6,000 people. A lot of times what they do is that they would say, okay, the sport of athletics, we're going to have it in Sandy Point, and we have the Ramada just outside there. That is the hotel that will take care of the sport of athletics. So that's a satellite village. And then they'll say, oh, but Marriott, we can deal with, because there may be 1,000 rooms, we can deal with
Tennis, maybe.
this 4 or 5 sports.
Okay.
But in doing that, the infrastructure to house those sports would have to be close enough to those areas to manage the cost of transportation, all the logistics of moving things around. So it's a lot of planning that goes into these things. As Glenn said, it's a quadrennial, it's a 4-year cycle. You plan, they've already started planning for 2028
And
before 2024 has been had. They've already awarded 28, so Los Angeles is
2032.
already preparing. In
2032.
2032, they're already preparing their bids and their different packages to see how they will host it there. Many years back when we did the Carifta Games here in 2008, we started, our bid went in 2015, in 2005. 2005. So we were like 3 years out before we actually hosted the games. And you prepare your bid and you prepare over the years to final completion and final execution of the event.
Yeah, as Lester mentioned, the changing of the model, we go to one village, one big village, but some of these sports are so far away, like 2 hours away.
Drive.
So, to get the best performance of the athlete, you want to be close to the competition area, so they tend to have these satellite hubs. The football was that was common to football, but now you see it now going to a lot of other sports. We have a cluster where all the beach activities in a sort of a cluster, where there's beach volleyball, sailing, and different in a cluster, and then you have those other indoor court side like the basketball, the volleyball, tennis, and so they got another cluster. Then you got the track and field always one. The opening ceremony, everything else, so they tend to take the opening national stadium with opening and closing ceremony.
Everything is on track.
So everything tends to be cut around. So that's how it is. But once again, they also complain, but you have to. Oh no, we should keep it in one place. But it coming normal now that whereby you have these 3 and 4 satellite at least village.
A lot of it comes down to cost too. What you find over the years that happens is that the local organizing committees, when they get involved in these events, they're looking for legacy programs. So you will build out a games village, and at the end of it, those rooms, those buildings will be passed over to social programs, the government, whoever, and you'll have apartments for people. Or you built. When we left Santiago, Chile, the village that we were in was a nice little community as far as I'm concerned. Bus stations and hospital being built and so on. Once we moved out of there, maybe within a month or 2 after the Parapan Games, and this is turned over to the whichever city or municipality that's gonna take it over, you have a Sandy Point.
Okay. 6,000 plus people.
7,000 people moving in there. So it's housing, it's stores, it's everything being built up in a community. That once the event is finished, the legacy of it is that you've given the country of St. Kitts Nevis a little town or a little community.
So there are definitely advantages in hosting various competitions.
There are advantages.
But some of the advantages have curtailed a bit because they are doing a lot of reusing the same competition venue. Okay. Yes, the hotels, the room stock have to be built. But when it comes to the competition,
like stadium,
it's more refurbishment as opposed to. But there's some advantage because they're refurbished, but not no new, very few new facilities in terms of competition are built, unless it's a sport that not normally practiced in that area of the country.
You made a point, Lester, that you're in charge of the entire situation, the entire contingent. So if, for example, the Prime Minister and the Governor General, they are invited, well, first off, could they just get up and decide, I want to go, or do they have to be invited?
No, you don't just get up and go to any event like that. What it is that in most of these events, there is the invitation first and foremost goes to the Olympic Committee as the member, and through extension through the Olympic Committee, you can invite what they call the sovereign or the head of state and so on. So the sovereign in this case,
Dame Marcella Leibert.
If Dame Marcella Leibert decides, well, I'm not coming, I'm going to send Troy Mills, that can't happen. He's not the sovereign. No, that can't happen. So the sovereign is the sovereign.
Okay.
Right? In a lot of these events, they recognize the head of state and the minister of sport.
The minister of sport.
So the deputy prime minister just can't show up because he's deputy prime minister. they will have to work out amongst themselves. Like the Prime Minister is here for a week, and when he leaves, maybe the Deputy Prime Minister can come and we extend courtesies to him and so on.
Okay.
So there's a hierarchy in the sports world of how these things are dealt with. Now, to come back to the question, when we start our planning, these are all questions that are put to us. Will the sovereign like to attend? Will the Prime Minister? Invitations are extended to them. Once they accept the invitations, then we can go back to the organizing committee and say, yes, the sovereign will be here, and the protocols for the sovereign coming is then laid out. There are deadlines for registration because, of course, if you're talking about sovereign and head of state, there are security concerns and logistics that have to be worked out for all these things. But nobody just walks into one of these events. It's a careful period of planning, and we choreograph the whole thing, who comes, when they come, who leaves, when they leave, when we leave. As a matter of fact, even though our president is the highest ranking person in the Olympic Committee, there he's considered Games family. He's a guest of the organizing committee, a guest of the IOC or whoever. I think the highest person there is the chef.
Also, if Mr. Bridges were to go, Bridgewater were to go to that, you'll be in charge of him basically.
I'm never in charge of the president. But you see, it's just how
the structure, the system is structured.
Yeah, the chef de mission is the person.
It goes with the team and delegation.
You're listening to On the Ball here at WINNFM 98.9. I'm your host, Troy Biff Mills. It's now 8:31. And we're going up to 9 o'clock. We have with us in the studio the heavy contingent, extremely heavy contingent from the SKNOC, Mr. Glenn Jeffers, the Secretary General, Mr. Lester Hanley, Executive Member, and Mr. Lonzo Wilkinson, Technical Director and Coach. And on the ball, a 2-hour sports program brought to you every Tuesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. It is sponsored by Cayenne Jet. And we say a very big thank you to Cayenne Jet. They are located at the RLB International Airport. Cayenne Jet provides a total focus on your needs with the elegant simplicity of a single point of contact for your travel demands. Our commitment to highest levels of service, safety, and convenience is unmatched in private aviation. Cayenne Jet's private lounges are known for their discerning clients who relish the state-of-the-art terminal for both its privacy and ability to relax and be pampered in a luxurious space, while their immigration and baggage requisites are being taken care of, always with a warm Cayenne Jet welcome from our team. We say a very big thank you to Cayenne Jet for coming on board and sponsoring On the Ball. This is our 4th edition. And the next week, God spare, we're going to be having the Department of Sports with us, and they're going to be telling us about the National Bank Primary School Championship and the Jones Group Limited High School Championship. But right now, live in the studio, Mr. Glenn Jeffers, Mr. Lester Hanley, and Mr. Lonzo Wilkinson from the SKNOC. And we're going to dive into a little bit more of the Pan Am Games, gentlemen. You did mention there were, was it 3 athletes? You said five athletes went to the Pan Am Game. Could you give us an idea of who these athletes were and what disciplines they participated in?
So we participated in 2 disciplines, tennis, what we call here lawn tennis, and athletics. There were 4 athletes for athletics. We had 2 sprinters, one in the 100 meters and one in the 200 meters, Mr. Makeem Huggins in the 100 meters, Mr. Nadal Bunting in the 200 meters, who placed 3rd, as a bronze medalist at this year's Pan Am Games. And there were 2 other athletes that went along with them from athletics that would have formed the remaining members of the 4x1 relay team, which will be Mr. Warren Hazel and Mr. Royden Peets. For the sport of tennis, we had 1 female athlete, Arina Valitova.
And we know Mr. Bunting, and I don't think we'll have to remind anybody he's from SP where the best be. We don't have to remind anybody of that. So when we say SP where the best be, we actually say it with some degree of authority and things like that.
But we had people like Jason in Waters too.
Of
So you
course,
got so
way back
best down
when
there.
we've been producing
Not way
them.
back. That's
We had
2 years ago.
we had Mellow way back.
Yeah,
Exactly,
Melvin Rogers.
Walter Johnson.
There you go.
And for those persons hearing the name Bunting and wondering, he's actually the son of Richie Bunting, a former national calypso monarch. Richie Bunting is now residing in St. Croix, and he has actually released about 3-4 songs for this year's Sugar Mass.
Okay.
I don't know if he registered, and I think one of them is a soca. I don't know if he is registered for any competition. I don't know if he'll be coming up, or he has just made a contribution. But one thing I can tell you, he's extremely proud of the performance of the son.
Yeah, it's a good.
I believe the son would have gotten the skills and things from the mother.
Imagine Richie now, man.
Yeah, Richie up on the height, then you drop the man down.
Drop the man like that.
Drop
Yeah.
the man down.
Well, they're actually a talented family and very cultural. Richie has his own band recording studio and things like that. And
So we might get a song for him for Paris then when he know his son's taking us into Paris.
Exactly. You
The
never could tell.
The Wheeler Boys.
And the Wheeler Boys as well.
Yeah.
So if he as a parent would want to accompany, he would have to make an accompany the son and go to Paris, etc. To be afforded the courtesies, he'll have to apply to the SKNOC, and you. No?
He doesn't have to apply to the SKNC. As a parent or anybody from any spectator from the Federation of St. Joseph's that wants to go to one of these events, there are programs, there are guest programs, there are programs that we sign on to that can help persons to identify accommodation and other things that can get them there. They just won't be a part of the official
Delegation. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And to add to that, too, the IOC had changed how it distributes ticketing. So now we have like a global portal where persons can go on that portal and purchase tickets.
Oh, okay.
Well, when I say purchase tickets to go into the venues.
The venues for various events.
But the outside of that, I think they also offer some hospitality packages as well. Yeah, they somewhat bring everything in-house, and they used to leave it to the NOCs to have their own agents to do that kind of coordination. But now, just like all the big sports, everybody seems to take everything under their own umbrella. Take care of the hospitality packages and the ticketing and make the whole experience. So maybe more coffers going to the IOC, everybody doing that now.
Where is...
So we could direct him to that.
Okay.
portal.
Mr. Bunting, where is he based, really?
He was in New York.
And Jersey.
The Jersey side. I think Orlando right now.
Yeah, he gone to Orlando, yes.
Yeah, to Jersey and yeah.
So when athletes are moving from one location, national athletes, is it mandatory that they inform the National Olympic Committee? Hey, I'll be in Orlando for 2 weeks, or I'll be in Washington for 3 weeks, etc. How does that work?
Well, those who are on the assistance program, they're supposed to, and they have to, Also for, testing or doping.
Doping, they need to be.
They need to.
There's a program known as
Whereabouts.
We need to know where they are.
If they don't tell us, they need to go on that portal, and once they are listed as being one of the, the ranked athletes, they're gonna have to complete their own whereabouts on the portal. But that's not really so much for the Olympic Committee. That's really for the water person.
Exactly.
But we regularly communicate with them. We have a WhatsApp group, Lonzo with the Willie Boys. So because we in such way we know, they tell us. So in so much of having to be pressing to get the information, but because we communicating regularly, we know we basically on the same in the know with them, so to speak.
You mentioned assistance program.
Yeah.
If an athlete is on the assistance program, what is that all about?
For the individual sports, those who are trying to qualify for the Olympic Games, based on, as Lonzo highlighted, whether the elite or continental developmental, meaning that they're good enough for CAC and Pan Am Games, we can get them minimum $1,500 US a month, up to almost $3,000 US a month.
Okay.
You get according to where you start to produce. So
yeah.
Mr. Bunting now, he came in at the lower end, so he be more or less move up. Now we're getting into Paris, and more money has been freed up from those who
Who didn't
not
make
going
it.
to able to carry to the next level. So we provide a sort of a tier assistance to some of them. So most of them who were down in Panam, I think that the
Warren, Hakeem.
yeah, Warren still making his way up, but the others were on some kind of assistance program, right? But they get healthy, what they said. But we spend in at least direct assistance, for example, up to November, we would have spent somewhere in the tune of on one program we had about which one is the Paris? We have almost 309,000 in that group, individual support. On the Panam side, we had almost 96,000, almost 100,000. And then on the youth side, we had about maybe 24. So the programs the assistance we provide is spread across the various developing individual sports. But on the individual sport directly, I'm seeing 9 and a 23, so maybe almost 430 something thousand in direct payment to the
athletes to go towards the
Training,
development,
supplements,
Panam Games, and then Olympic.
So it's not a salary or stipend as it was.
No, it's not incentive enough in some cases. As they get higher, you have to keep pumping in more.
So the $1 million question, and you did mention it goes into the million. Where are all these funds coming from to play the athletes and support the programs, etc.?
We get from the Olympic Solidarity, the IOC gave we have 5 athletes and Olympic scholarships. So ours was to vet them with the National Federation and somewhat assess their realistic chance of getting to the Olympic Games. So we have 5, 3 females and two males. Yeah, 3 females and 2 males.
That's Rihanna.
The first time we have more females than male. We have Rihanna Richards is one. We have Amaya Clark
and Timothy.
And the young lady Arena,
yes,
tennis.
And then
in athletics we have Jason Rogers and
Bunting.
Warren. Bunting is not in because Bunting came in.
They came in afterwards. Yeah, right.
These athletes came in, as I said, before 2022. They came on somewhere in 2021, 2022.
Yeah,
so athletes can come on and go off. And another program we have with Panam Sports, where we give some assistance again from that program. So you're talking about maybe 2-3 individual sport program we provide that assistance. But it's upon the recommendation from the National Federation and being vetted by us to submit to the IOC. So well, yeah, this is athlete, this is the endorsement from the recommendation from the National Federation. We support it and provide the assistance. And they will send the sums to us and we disperse it to the athlete. With reports coming every quarter in some cases. Some give every month, some give every quarter. If they're not satisfactory going in the right direction, just like anything else, you have to, make hard decisions, say, well, nothing is happening. And with the support of the National Federation, we come together, communicate, and make a decision.
We have 16 minutes to go, gentlemen. Let's get into a little more the politics of it. What are your plans for the balance of 2023? And is it possible you could give us a little preview of your plans maybe for the first quarter in 2024, Godspear?
Well, I don't have Lester could help on this because we are into Paris mode, and just preparing for these other games. Lonzo can tell you we had about almost 7-8 meetings, and I see us having almost a similar number of meetings, preparatory meetings, leading up before we actually go to the games. So
long before we went off to Chile for the Pan American Games, we began preparing for Paris 2024. As I said to you, these things are done over 2-3 year cycles. So we've already gone and started doing our site visits in Paris, looking at venues, looking at accommodations, looking at all these different things, looking at sporting disciplines
and
that are
training
gonna be
and
there,
training camp before the
training
game.
facilities and so on. One of the things that happens when there is a games, the host country is allowed to have some electives, so to speak. In Paris next year, we're going to be seeing things like esports, what they call esports, which we call here gaming.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be there. You're going to see things like breakdancing and some of these things. They're not traditional
Wow.
sports.
I think I
but
better
these things are
put
coming
on
in.
my suit, go look for my
These things
suit.
are coming back in. So all of these things we would have been looking at, discussing, getting to understand and to appreciate what are some of the disciplines that are going to be there. So it's a lot of work in the back of it. Here, bring it back home, we're looking at what the possibilities are, where we can possibly field teams or athletes from various disciplines that will get there. As of now, we think that we will have athletes from athletics and tennis again going. As you said earlier, Nadal Bunting, he has with his performance and his bronze medal in Chile, sort of put himself within the ranking of those persons that are in the top maybe 24 in his event that's going to be heading to Paris. And what we found with a lot of these sprint events, that's what they're using it, the top 24 athletes in the world.
Mm.
So just to get there, you know, you've accomplished something. But we don't just want to get there, we want to get there, we want a medal.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that we're looking at persons like Nadal and as Lanza said, he's working with some other persons for a relay team. We have some tennis players. We know that we've had Arena that has played not only in Chile, but she has been active on the circuit in the last 2 years. So she has gotten her ranking up to a point where she is eligible when it comes to events within our region and so on. Her name shows up on the board because she has been competing.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking for good things from our athletics fraternity and our tennis fraternity. The Olympic Games next year will be held between the 26th of July to the 11th of August. So traditional summer games going to be held in Paris, France, and we will be coming to the local media, our local public, sporting public, as time goes on and updating them as to where we are, Team St. Kitts and Nevis, heading off to Paris next year. But the work has already started.
Yeah, as I said, from the Olympic standpoint, continue what Lester is saying. Well, we got year end is coming up, December. You know, you have to be filing reports to the funding agencies. You know, so we have to be pressing our member federations, get those reports in, so we could close off and then use that January time for one-on-ones reassessment. You know, those who are going on to still on the pathway to Paris, and those who have to begin to start again. You know, some of them may feed into the smaller youth programs before they go up to the senior programs. I will let Lonzo comment on what we've been working with athletics, because you heard about the relay team. Mm-hmm. You know, it's still in the infancy stage, it's still developmental. Male, you see the male, but we'll also be rolling out the female. So we have some ideas and some plans with the National Federation to see if we could get back to those glory relay days where St. Kitts and Nevis in the 16, remember there's only 16 teams going to be in Paris.
Yeah.
But to get to Paris, there's the World Relays in the Bahamas, I think it's in May.
Yeah,
in May.
Yeah.
Where 32 teams.
May the 4th.
May the 4th, 32 teams had to show up in Bahamas. 8 already done filled, because from the World Championships in athletics this year in Budapest, 8 teams in, so we only leave 24.
Wow.
So if we want to get to Paris, we got to make sure we're in the 24 for Bahamas first. And when we're in Bahamas, then we have to make sure we get down into the 16.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to tell you that the pathway is set. It's just a matter now we line up the preparatory
Competition
work,
meet,
then the competitions, and then that one. So for us, the Olympics is really Bahamas, meaning that you got to be getting Bahamas, because it counts. Okay, there's no other route. you got to go to Bahamas.
Well, from track and field point of view, track and field have been the only sports that have been going to the Olympics since whenever we started.
That's correct.
For this year, we already had 2 development meets thus far. We had one Sunday gone, a sprint and hurdle championship, and our very own Deshinel Thomas has already qualified for Carifta 2024.
Yeah, that's good.
So she has a qualifying mark. So thus far, we also started our throw academy. We started Saturday gone, so we are continuing our academies, and we're hoping to start our grassroots in January. So to ensure those primary school athletes get some fundamentals, so when their sports start, they will be able to perform at the highest level. Our development meets and our training are geared towards, because there's scholastics, towards Carifta. And we are looking to get our team prepared. We have selected a squad already, Carifta squad, and we are hoping that those athletes would make the standard. So by March next year, 30th, we will have a full plane going to Grenada, representing the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis at Carifta level. And so we are looking forward for that. Also, as Glenn mentioned, we have a development relay team, male and a female team that we're looking at. And we're hoping to go to the Drake relays and also the Penn relays to give us a mark, so we get into the world relays in Bahamas this year. And once, as you said, once we get there, we are looking to end up in the top 16, and hopefully we'll go to the Olympic with a relay team as far as possible. So there are things that we're looking at, and there are different pathways we have to ensure that the athletes go through in order to attain the marks and the ranking desired for qualifying or being represented at the games.
I think in the summer you have what, the World Championship?
World Junior Championship.
On the 20th, I think they call it? Sometime in the summer.
Let me see where it is. Yeah. Yes, the World Junior Championship in the summer, in August. We'll go towards that, yeah. So that's what we're looking at, those meets.
So though we're ending 1 year, when we think the work is getting less, it's actually getting more and more.
Yes.
I have to commend you gentlemen, and obviously the athletes and the support teams you have with you. And I think track and field especially has gone from way back when, nowadays, going to school where you would have the sports day. And you go to the high school championships and that's it. And perhaps the Carifta. And I think you were the one who mentioned earlier, Lanza, that it doesn't, once ago it ended with Carifta, but it no longer does.
No.
All these games are coming in at different levels at the different parts of the globe. And so therefore, track and field athletes have something tangible to work from. They're seeing the examples before them. And the opportunities today are immense, really, really immense. So the youngsters, the youth, we have to really encourage them to be on that path. We have 6 more minutes, gentlemen, and just to get a final wrap-up from you folks, anything you want to say, remind the public, let them know?
Well, from my standpoint, I want to thank you for inviting us on the program. I know you're in the member federation chat, and I'm not sorry to say, we start again, we start this thing. So it was, and I want to make sure we get here. So I am glad that you did reach out to not only the Olympic Committee, but all the national federation. And I hope each one of them will use the opportunity to come on and just say a little piece to give the public a general idea what is happening. We know, of course, you build up the program, going to build up, but as you make it the main feature, and the public hear what the national federation doing, they might start to get more financial and other support from the general public. So kudos to you, for bringing this thing back and getting up and running.
Of course, and WINNFM and our
and
sponsor.
WINNFM and our sponsor. You can't. Again, you keep saying you can't do it without a sponsor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, what I want to say out there is that the development doesn't happen overnight. The rule of thumb say you have to at least put in 10 years of full work in order to reach to the elite level, 10,000 hours of actual work in order to move from one level to the elite level. So I want to encourage parents and athletes out there who are listening, whether it's football, track and field, anything, that you really have to put in the hours of training if you want to reach to the highest level. That's what I want to put there.
Thank you very much.
For me, before I say thank you, you did ask earlier, Clark, and I don't think I answered it. Giving our member federation members to be administrators at different levels, whether it be supporting national teams from home as we develop the teams and prepare them, to taking them overseas. You would have been part of that process. It's
Indeed.
a lot of work. I think your eyes would have been opened.
Definitely,
in
I thought it was a
workshop that
stroll in the
done
park.
by Leroy Green and myself sometime earlier this year. So for persons that may think it's just something that somebody shows up to do, it's really not. It's something that a lot of preparation goes into. Lonzo has been head coach, technical director. He's had his stint as chef de mission, and a lot of times what we do when we travel out, even people like coaches and so on that are on the team, they get exposed to it. We take the opportunity to expose them to different things because at some point in time they may elevate themselves to be a chef de mission. So they're not thrust into something that's foreign to them. They're learning as they go along with the teams of the different roles that are there to be played and so on. So it happens over time. It's a process. And we're always looking to add people to the process. I said, we've just done a cadre of persons earlier this year. For me, thank you. It's good to have a sports program back. We look forward to supporting you, the sporting fraternity, and going, giving persons an opportunity to dialogue with us and get to understand what it's about. I know you didn't have many calls this evening, but there are always questions out there. We tend to have a culture that we get on social media and we bash. These programs are important because these are programs that we can educate people. We're not there. You will never see the NOC on social media talking about a lot of its affairs. That's just something we don't do. If it's something that we need to clarify, we will find the right medium to do that. But we're not going to be going back and forth with persons. That's just really not how we do business. But we like to come to these sort of programs to educate people and to share information. So again, thank you for having us. Looking forward to coming back.
Me too. Yeah. And as I said, the Olympic Committee and a number of our federations, they invest a lot in sport. You can hear some of the dollars I call, and I still scratching the surface. I haven't given you all the details.
Wow, 1.1 million
and those are money that's not government. It's the IOC, Pan Am Sports, and our sponsors, etc. That's where we get most of our funding. But we sure will have encouraged more to come on board. You know what I mean? But we just wanted to know that. One critical thing I want to mention here. As you see with sports, and persons tend to talk about the entourage. You're involved in a lot of sports. It's not like one person. It's too much. It's just too much.
Yes,
work.
too much for one.
If you could see even in football, you need the equipment manager. Now they tell you have to work with a media person, and if you don't work with those persons, they actually want to fine you. Wow. They actually want to fine you or tell you, well, no, you have not met the requirements because they want to make sure that the players, the athletes, and the other things they are taking care of. You don't say, well, I was busy over there and they didn't get to
send a report.
Especially when you're far away, you know.
Exactly.
You have to make sure that the delegation is taken care of, as Lester pointed out earlier in these discussions.
Gentlemen, it was indeed a tremendous pleasure having the three of you here. You have the privilege and distinction of being the largest delegation we've had on the program so far. This is our fourth edition of the program.
Yes.
It's the second edition where we are doing 2 hours,
2 hours.
and we're doing it weekly. It started from last week. The first 2 sessions were done every 2 weeks, and it was only 1 hour. But we saw the need to actually improve and increase upon it, and we really appreciate it. I've been around sports for a little bit, and I'm familiar with the SKNOC, and I've learned quite a bit. So I'm certain that our listening audience would have learned quite a bit as well. And like you mentioned, you just scratched the surface. And we really appreciate you. We congratulate the St. Kitts and Nevis Olympic Committee for the work that you have been doing collectively as individuals. Because some of you have been working tirelessly for decades. And also as an entity, as a group as you continue to get larger. And it appears with cricket now on the Olympics for 2032
Yes.
that you will be expanding.
2028 and 2032.
Exactly. You will be expanding because the St. Kitts and Nevis Cricket Association, no doubt, will be coming on board at some point soon.
Well, it's more than cricket because we have other sports,
Yes.
swimming,
Swimming.
Shall we come in?
and
Yeah.
some other sports that are knocking on the doors. They're going through their membership
Baseball.
process.
Yeah.
Baseball. Something good has to, something a keep.
I even feel hockey.
And
Handball.
handball, yeah.
gentlemen, it was really a tremendous pleasure. I think we learned a lot. We covered a lot. And as fate would have it, we were to have tennis and track and field to discuss the Pan Am Games.
Yes.
But perhaps the Almighty said, well, hey, we needed to give you the full hour and a half to do that.
Appreciate it.
We thank you very much and have a safe trip home again. And we look forward to inviting you on the program in the not too distant future.
Thank you.
All right, thank
you. Excellent.
You have been listening to On the Ball here on WinFM 98.9. I am Troy Biff Mills, your host. And On the Ball, it is a weekly 2-hour sports show sponsored by Cayenne Jet. And we say thank you to Cayenne Jet for sponsoring the program. And quickly before we go, at Cayenne Jet, every trip is personal and we tailor each arrival and departure to the individual guests, making sure our beautiful lounges are the luxury escape from their tiring journeys, helping them to relax, renew, and revitalize. Our highly experienced staff are on hand to deal not only with normal day-to-day procedures, but with special requests and individually tailored solutions to meet the demands of today's unique travel needs. From arrival to departure and beyond, all private or business travel needs are met with uncommon dedication and personalized care at Cayenne Jet. We thank you for listening to On the Ball here on WinFM 98.9, and we invite you to tune in again next week, Tuesday, God's Spear, at 7 p.m. Our guests next week, Tuesday, will be the Department of Sports, and we'll be talking a bit of the primary school and high school football that is happening. I am Troy Biff Mills. I thank you. If you want to give me a call, 668-2055, you can do that. And if you're interested in sponsoring the program, you can call us at 465-9586, and our marketing department will be glad to assist you coming up with a solution for whatever you're thinking. And I bid you a good night. Thank you for listening. And as I slip away, I encourage you to always be positive in your thoughts, in your words, and in your actions. Have a good night.